seem taken from that concept art. They already, at least it looks like they're taking ideas from that concept art and maybe implementing it to the Kingdom. Like, the whole idea there's something wrong with this right side, the broken Master Sword. Why is there a broken Master Sword? Like, we've never seen that before in a Zelda game where it's shattered in half. That Master Sword isn't half, just like what we're seeing in Tears of the Kingdom. So, there are just similarities. It may not be the same thing, but maybe it was an idea they were already playing around with, and it evolved and adapted to what we saw in the second trailer. Darcy, you wonder if anything extra will happen with the dragons? I think so. I mean, literally, the Ouroboros symbol has dragons in it. The dragon head statue on the shield. We've seen what appear to be dragons in the sky, in the background, in the latest trailer from Tears of the Kingdom. And I also believe that the divine dragons that fly up into the sky in Breath of the Wild that go through a portal, I believe this cloud portal they fly through leads them into this sky realm that we see in Tears of the Kingdom. So I think there's an element there as well. Yeah, I think there's something to that. Not to mention, Naydra, Farosh, and Dinral represent different elements of, maybe you got the red, the blue, and the green. And there's this conversation we've had about how maybe we see the return of the Triforce, and you got Link with the green, Ganondorf coming back with the red, and Zelda, is the princess, and then they're always protected by the Sheik of family, and that they're blue, right? So if that comes back, perhaps that brings in more of a sword. The dragons represent those three sides as well. So, just something else I'm throwing out there. I think there's a pretty darn solid chance the dragon will have a way more significance in Tears of the Kingdom than Breath of the Wild. I mean, I feel like the proof is already there, but we'll see to what extent. So I feel like the arm bow won't happen because we've already seen him with a bow in Tears of the Kingdom trailers. Could be a special ability that he obtains. Yeah, I think that one's probably not going to happen. I agree. The bomb one, though, right? AV James says, well, there has to be some replacement for bombs if there's no slate bomb room. Right, exactly. Like, it doesn't look like we have the same rooms from Tears of the Kingdom, so maybe we get a replacement. Yeah. And I would love to see the return of the beetle. Well, yeah, I would. If it's like to get into small little places. Yeah. Let's see here. Mark, Nintendo's only partnering with Illumination because they're owned by Universal, who Nintendo's working with because of the theme parks. I think Nintendo. I don't know if Nintendo has a strict agreement with Universal to make all their movies, but I imagine they're going to be working with them to bring them forward. Then, if I think Universal would use another studio if they couldn't put it together. I do see the parent organization for Illumination is Universal Pictures and NBC Universal. Yeah, I'm not sure. Universal has a lot of studios, so maybe they could bring in more talent and come out with a different direction for the Zelda movie. So, like maybe Nintendo Universal is seeing how much success this Mario movie is going to have. They're like, okay, let's take things to an even greater level. Okay. DOS added me. If Illumination does a Zelda movie, I hope it'd be more serious and adult in tone compared to the Mario movie. Yeah, we're on the same page. Totally agree with that. Garner, Pixar has made serious movies. 90% of theirs is that. So I mean, maybe they can get away with it. My God, see, Link will be voiced by Tom Holland. OMG! Like, I love Tom Holland, so it's just kind of feel like that's what people. It's kind of like people want Tom Holland to do Link, and they want Zelda to be done by Emma Watson. So, I mean, actually, I think Emma Watson would be great, but yeah, she would be probably. There's someone else they could. They're probably good. Yeah. is, I do believe they picked the actors they picked in part because of their recognition. It's not just who fits the role. It's about who fits the role, but it's also about bringing a big name because they want people to watch this movie. So when they say Jack Black is doing Bowser, it's not just about, oh man, Bowser's is in the game. I mean, the movie. I keep swapping them. It's also because people love Jack Black. So, yeah. I do think Tom Holland has a chance. Even though that I feel like the whole idea of Tom Holland is mostly from, like, stuff. Maybe those rumors kind of come from the idea that, yeah, Tom Holland probably would be, feels like would be a good link. Let's see here. Get my chat jumping around. Zach still of ASMR. Yo, Andre, question. Do you think Ganon from Breath of the Wild to reveal Archetype Ganon or Twilight Princess? I can't figure it out. Okay, so you're asking me. You're asking me, is that the Ganon or Twilight Princess? So, it's both. Let me explain. There are technically only 2 Ganondorfs in the entire history of the Legend of Zelda, the canon history of Legend of Zelda. There's only 2. The Ganondorf we see in Ocarina of Time, in terms of the timeline, is technically the first time Ganondorf appears. So, Ganondorf, the idea of Ganondorf is that the Spear of Demise is resurrected in Ganondorf. So, Ganondorf is like the main bad guy, but he doesn't die. He has too much power to die. He's just sealed away until they come back. So, at the end of Ocarina of Time, you don't kill Ganondorf. He's simply sealed away for an indefinite amount of time. He promises to make his way, to get his way out. So, he gets out. And when he gets out, he ruins Hyrule. So, and it happens in two different ways. So, because there's a timeline split. So you have the adult timeline, the child timeline. The child timeline is the timeline where Link is sent back in time to live childhood. And so in that timeline, they know Link is able to tell Zelda and the others that something's going to happen, and they're able to apprehend Ganondorf. And those events eventually lead, after Majora's Mask, lead to the events of Twilight Princess. So, same Ganondorf. However, the Ganondorf that turns into Ganon for the first time at the end of Ocarina of Time is the Ganondorf that we eventually see break out of the Sacred Realm and destroy Hyrule, that cause the gods to, or attack Hyrule, that cause the gods to flood Hyrule, and that becomes the events of the Wind Waker. So, there's all that. I don't know where this falls in the timeline, but the Ganondorf we see in the mummy thing probably is that Ganondorf. I did say there was 2 Ganondorfs. I forget, there's a Force, Ganondorf and Force Swords. There is one game, a Force Sword game where Ganondorf is in Force Swords Adventures. It's one of those. I forget which one. But even in that game, the spirit of the previous Ganondorf is in there too. So there's that. But that's just the Force Swords. Every other time, like for the major 3D Zeldas, it's the same. It's the exact same Ganondorf. The Ocarina of Time, the Wind Waker, the Twilight Princess, the same exact Ganondorf. So yeah, that's probably probably this same Ganondorf. That's probably what we're gonna do. I mean, it makes the most sense because he's the most recurring villain we see throughout the Zelda games. And the story of Ganon, Calamity Ganon, is that Ganon gave up on a physical form after generations of failing to take over Hyrule. So, it all adds up. The Ganondorf failed repeatedly, gave up his physical form, and Calamity Ganon. He was trapped underground Hyrule, became that mummy thing, but his evil essence has come out of it, and he's trying to terrorize Hyrule in that form. But the true root of it all, we're dealing with here. Hopefully I answered your question. Personally, would love to see a 3D Aqua Ventus boss in the sky. Is that an old Zelda boss? Yeah, I would love to see why. There's several dragons from the older Zelda games, from Legend of Zelda. Like, it would be really cool to see, like, redone in 3D, in HD, modern day graphics, and see how they would act. Like, it would be amazing to see that. And there's emphasis on dragons, like, what if it goes good at that, dragons a lot more. That would be really, really cool to see. And there's a lot more sky battles, as we've seen from the past. Like, I would love an emphasis on just fighting dragons in the sky. That would be so cool.
Opened fire right away, didn't they? Of course, those dumb bastards.
Link and Goku team up against Ganon. Considered a leak. That's right. Oh, right again. So that would be fun. That's fun. Like,
having destroyed the old world. So they don't exactly take kindly to smart guys here.
okay, my gods, he said Nintendo does have a
Just gonna
distribution
lock me
contract with the
up until I
universe.
get
So
to
it
go
would have to
fight
stick with
those
the universe.
electrical
Right?
demons of theirs to absolve my sins. Because I was in cahoots with Satan, apparently, блядь. Some Satanist I am. I've been fixing engines and trading all my life. Now I'm moving to the east. Lynn, I'm sick of this part of country. There's just nothing to do here anymore. The cities are gone. Bandits, beasts all around. Lots of space across the Volga, though. Plenty of opportunity. So, I came here with my rail car full of trading goods, hoping to make a few sales on the way east. What a fool I was. I was lucky to get out alive. Anyway, since you've arrived, I've been thinking of this little plan I had, never had a chance to pull off alone, but since you guys are also going east... Now, judging by what I could see with my binoculars, it's a miracle your engine is still running. Oh, by the way, take the binoculars. I'll show you where everything is.
Robust. They're working on it here.
You get it. And you said everything right.
Look at the bridge first. See that section on top? It should lower if the emergency mechanism still works. Kasha from the shelf should know better. I've never been to the bridge myself.
We have a job
There,
to
to
do.
the right. That huge hangar. That's a terminal
Get me
bridge.
started.
The countries consider it a holy place. Covered it all in graffiti, schmaffiti. There... Tsarfish lived there, you know.
Folks, the clock is winding down. There's just a little time left for you to beat the play to save more on quality health coverage through Connect. Beat the buzzer and enroll before January 15th. Connect. Together for a better Kentucky.
Oh, the area nearby isn't too bad either. There's a good hunting and stuff. I set up several safe camps around there. If you find them, you could rest, fix your equipment. Unless you prefer spending nights at an open campfire. Come on, let me show you my home now.
Other opportunities. Miami Dolphins is in Berea for the interview process with the Browns. defensive coordinator position. Some of the beat reporters from the Steelers say he will have other opportunities as well. Will be interesting to see. One thing about Flores, his defenses in Miami were very good. Take a listen to this explanation of what they did well.
In 2019, Miami's defense was dead last in the NFL by DVOA. In 2020, the Dolphins jumped to 11th overall and 6th in pass DVOA. They went from giving up 35 points per game to just 21. All this improvement was spurred by the fronts and pressure packages from Brian Flores and great secondary play from Xavier Howard and new addition Byron Jones. Miami had one of the highest blitz and pressure rates in the NFL, with almost 10% of their blitzes coming from a cover zero look with no deep help. They also brought 5 or more rushers on over 1/3 of their defensive snaps. They weren't without flaws, especially in the run game, but the defense came up big without the big names to back it up. The Dolphins took double mug schemes and ramped it up to the max with their cover zero overload looks. While they only ended up blitzing and being in a true cover zero about 10% of the time, that didn't stop them from showing cover zero and bailing out of it. Cover zero means there are 0 deep defenders. Everyone is at the line of scrimmage and in man coverage. It's a high risk and high reward defensive scheme, and Flores was really unfazed by the risk it brought. He would run it in 2-minute drills at the goal line and in some critical moments during games. The Dolphins are in one of those cover zero looks right here. The secondary outside are all in man coverage. The Dolphins coach their guys to engage as much as possible with the offensive linemen before they bail to their coverage spots. This forces the offensive line and protection schemes to engage with them and open up lanes elsewhere. If they have free releases and aren't picked up on that initial step forwards, they have the clear to continue on their track and attack the quarterback.
Let's welcome in Quincy Carrier, host of Untitled, Unfiltered Browns Coverage. Quincy, you saw that look where you got the 3 defensive backs. I can easily envision Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, and Martin Emerson in that, and kind of turning everybody loose. I think the players love playing in that system because it's aggressive and it shows a trust in them.
Yeah, the one thing I do worry about with all this, is I like Brian Flores as well, but the one thing I have to keep an eye on is whenever we replace a coach, right, there's this tendency to want to go in the extreme opposite direction of the guy that was just a coach previously. And I worry that we might be going too far in that direction because, on paper, going zero coverage, zero blitzing a lot, that sounds fun. But in theory, it gives you a lot of the same issues that you were worried about with the Joe Woods defense, just in a different way. Because what's a zero blitz that gets beat? It's a blown cover. It looks like blown coverage. It's a big play that you're giving up, right? So, that's why I'm worried about Martin Emerson, somebody who needs overhead coverage in order to be the corner that he is. He's not really a long speed guy. If you look at the tape when he was covering against Devonta Smith, he got cooked deep intermediate right by him. So I like Brian Flores. I would hope that he tones down some of the aggressiveness. I know nobody wants to hear that because all we want to hear is the opposite of Joe Woods. But the opposite of Joe Woods, the inverse of Joe Woods, does not mean that he's going to be good automatically just because the philosophy is different. So that's what I would worry about, right? Because, yes, that's going to make people happy in the short term, they blitz. But we get to week 8 and we blow a game because we zero blitz like he did in Miami in the end of the first half and give up 7 free points. I don't think we're going to be well, that's just the risk that we run when we run cover zero, right? The same way we weren't hey, sometimes we might give up a 3rd and 7 because we run a lot of zone. We're going to stop big plays, right? You know what I mean? It's the what you have to take is not going to go in if the defense isn't performing. I would just caution people on that. Zero blitzing sounds great on paper, but a lot of people in the league go, you really shouldn't zero blitz that much. And that was one of the big criticisms of Brian Flores that I hope he changes because we can't live zero blitzing like that. That's going to be dangerous for a team with something to lose. And also remember, Miami teams had nothing to lose. They were actively trying to lose. That's part of what the was. So yeah, he was zero blitzing and doing whatever he wanted because, 1, he didn't have the talent. 2, what else? Why not, right? This is different because if you zero blitz this year and cost the game this year, everybody's getting fired. So different scenario. I hope we call for different philosophy. He's not going to be as aggressive as he was in Miami. I don't anticipate that. but also fans should probably not want that because yes, we're gonna want to go in that opposite direction. I don't know if going all the way over there does anything but keep us in the same carousel we've been in for the last 20 years.
All right, but they got to be more aggressive than they were. I mean, you've got. I mean, they just were not. I would say they were passive.
No, they can't live rushing like 5 calling at a blitz, right? Like that's not what they can live doing anymore. They have to be more aggressive in certain situations. They should let them play more man, but we don't need to go into the excess of that conversation, which is where Brian Flores kind of dipped in Miami. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it would be different here because it's a different situation, but also it's something to look for because right now we're looking at him being in the excess in that conversation. It's a good thing, but it's not really, right? Like, so it's just a good thing in comparison to Joe Woods, who's the exact opposite. So we gotta see where he would line on.
All right, perspective there. I get it. This is kind of interesting. This is a look at what his defenses did in Miami. So 2020, they had 29 turnovers. They forced 29 turnovers. That was first in the NFL. 2.6 sacks per game, tied for 8th. 2021, 26 turnovers, tied for 8th in the NFL, 2.8 sacks per game. So, and again, they went from the worst defense year before he took over to pretty much middle of the road, which if the Browns defense was middle of the road, we'd be getting ready for a playoff game.
Now, again, more back to we did this with Jacoby Brissett that didn't exactly yield the same yields once Deshaun Watson got in there, right? So it's not necessarily a one-to-one kind of thing. But the ideal is, and look, here's my philosophy for this entire defensive coordinator search. Those of you who care. It's not going to take a genius to get a good defense out of this team. All right, it's just going to take somebody who one of the players are willing to listen to. And that's going to be anybody not named Joe Woods. Joe Woods is not in the building, so it's probably going to get better because of that. And, like, that's no disrespect to Joe Woods. It's just after 3 years of, like, the same thing, people just want to tune you out. Like, this is what happened. And anybody new that comes in there, you know how it is when somebody's new at work. You kind of listen to them for a year, and then, like, you stop listening to them. So it's not going to take a genius to come in and fix this defense. It's just going to take somebody competent. And competence is not that rare to find on the defensive side of the ball. And as long as they have that, they should be fine.
So another one of the candidates, one of the younger candidates that the Browns have asked and got permission to talk to is Jerod Mayo. Now, Mayo, the Panthers have asked to interview him for their head coaching job, so he may not even make it here to get to that. So let me ask you this, Quincy. Of Schwartz, Flores, Mayo, and Desai, those are the 4 that we know. There will probably be others that they don't have to ask permission for that we find out are going to interview for the defensive coordinator position. But of those 4, who do you like? Do you have a favorite? I do, and I'll give it to you again. But of those 4, who do you like?
I imagine Motor City is like, hey, let's get this right. That's the most recognizable name. That's the most notable name. I like Brian Flores too. I think he provides a lot of what his coaching staff needs, a different perspective in there. But also like Jerod Mayo. I wouldn't rule him out, right? Jerod Mayo, very qualified for the position. 3 years as a linebacker. It's kind of like pseudo defensive coordinator, but not really the defensive coordinator, but you're his most senior lieutenant on the defense. It's a weird role. He should probably change the name of the position for like his own like tree's sake. But that is something that comes there. Now the success of Belichick tree guys outside of the Belichick tree system is something that does concern me with both Mayo and Brian Flores, even though Brian Flores has demonstrated some success outside that system. I think that's why a lot of people are more comfortable with them. I don't know much about Sean Desai. And Jim Schwartz is interesting because it wouldn't require much of a personnel change or a mindset change, which I'm fine with, right? That would be more of a philosophy change, where Joe Woods has the same kind of like 4-2-5, we're going to run a wide 9, some base, we're really going to be in a lot of nickel and dime. It's the same kind of ideal, but the philosophy is different. So if this was offense, it would be the same kind of a conversation where you would have versus an Air Coryell offense versus like an Air Raid offense, where some of them are downfield, more attacking, some of them are at the screen, right? Cliff Kingsbury runs a very different Air Raid than what like Urban Meyer ran in Utah or something like that, right? It's a difference. It's the same name, but it's different in philosophy. The difference with Jim Schwartz would be he loves to put his focus on the interior and the edges of the defensive line and build out from that. That's exactly one of the things I was wanting, right? Former head coach, has a lot of perspective. I would like him to. I don't think there's a lot of room to go wrong here, so I think there's just multiple good decisions you can make here.
I like Schwartz. I think they need somebody that's, and I don't know Flora's personality enough. You need a counterbalance to an even-keeled Kevin Stefanski, I think. And we'll have more on that here. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
I was looking at the Bengals, the road to the Super Bowl, and I think the one thing that was noticeable was, one, how they attacked the offseason. As far as personnel, I think we just need to find offensively a speed receiver. We need Jamar Chase or Tyreek Hill, like player that's going to be reliable for Deshaun. Also, the defensive side, they will have a great defensive coordinator in Lou Anarumo. So I think we really need to hire a defensive coordinator who has authority over a locker room. And I think Brian Flores is definitely one who has authority over a locker room. So I think he'll be a great candidate. Short, I think he will also be a great candidate. I think Brian will pull something out of our young football, and I think that we will.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. I think they need a different personality. I think Woods was too much like Coach Stefanski in that he's kind of laid back and even-keeled. And I think they need somebody that if something happens, they're going to go in and throw the table over in the meeting room and turn it upside down every once in a while.
Well, I think it's about different approaches, too, right? Like, I'm not necessarily going to endorse somebody like having a full-out temper tantrum because I think that's more dysfunctional than it is helpful. But I do think that there are different approaches and guys who can get to guys in different ways and connect with guys in different ways that maybe Joe Woods was not able to, and Kevin Stefanski's not able to, and maybe Mike Prefer is not able to. Like, Stump Mitchell might be able to connect with some players, but at the end of the day, Stump Mitchell's a position coach, right? It's different when there are the senior leadership, right? The head coach, the coordinating staff. So that you probably need a more of a diversity in approaches there with player relationships, which is why Brian Flores seems to be really good at it, right? It seems to be something that the guys respect in there is Brian Flores. So maybe he can bring something to the table. I don't know if he's necessarily and cuss guys out. Like, he's not Greg Williams, right? Like, he is somebody who is demonstrative. He is passionate. I don't think he's a destructive guy. He's not going to be, just that's not how he goes with it. He will say some things, but he's not necessarily going to be cussing guys out on the sidelines and things like that. But most good coaches aren't that way, especially nowadays where you can be mic'd up and everything else like that. So, it's about a different approach, right? Maybe Kevin and his confidence and his kind of calm and confident kind of demeanor, maybe that doesn't work. Maybe a player have a more direct approach with them, right? The language and how they're taught to. Maybe that is something that can help. But now you have somebody that can do that at least from one side of the ball or challenge guys. I think that is important, right? I think being able to reach as many people in the locker room, many different personality types in the locker room, that's what's important, and that's what you can do if you hire somebody who's outside. I don't know enough about Jim Schwartz or anybody else in this thing to decide that. We kind of made that determination about Brian Flores. I don't really know Brian Flores like that, right? Like, we're just kind of making assumptions here. But that is something that when they're going through the interview process, that they should really, really consider is, hey, does this guy have different approaches to me, and how can that be helpful to this locker room? Because maybe we need more approaches to more players, because clearly that's been a problem. And people don't feel like they can communicate things, and then they're lashing out to the media. And this has happened multiple times the last couple of years. Then you don't have enough approaches in that building to be able to handle the problems that are being manifested in you.
The one thing is they got to get the principle too, because right now the players told you we need somebody that's going to hold us accountable. So, Quincy Carrier and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Talk a little bit about wide receivers. Sports for CLE.